Join us, the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast, on a journey where we delve into the heart of the matters that truly make a difference. Our mission is to create a platform where we can openly discuss topics that often go unnoticed or unexplored. We aim to shed light on these crucial issues and have meaningful conversations. We invite you to tune into our podcast, where we will explore the depths of these subjects and let our hearts guide the conversation. Together, we can create a space where everyone's voice is heard and where we can collectively work towards a better future. Welcome, everyone, to the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. I'm your host, Nia Imani, and I have the pleasure of interviewing this beautiful goat, Miss Dyana Williams. Thank you so much for joining us.
I just told Nia that I need to see the driver's license, because every time I see her, it looks like she's got a portrait of Dorian Gray and she's just going backwards. Some people, like yours truly, okay, we are going with the flow of time. And then some people, like Nia, going in a different direction. Anyway, it is an honor to be with you finally.
Thank you. You look amazing. First of all, before we get into this, can y'all just look at the way that she just put that together? Period. Listen, she told me not to read her entire bio because she is so accomplished that it would take till, what day are we on, Thursday? It would take till Sunday.
I did say that.
So I'm going to read a brief one, but we're going to get into it. I know you know her, but those who are living under a rock, let me just tell you, Miss Dyana Williams is a renowned authority on African American music and a trailblazer in the entertainment and media industries, with a career spanning over 50 years and looking like she 49. How is that possible? Celebrated for her work as a radio personality, this beautiful lady has earned numerous accolades, including being named among the top Black radio jockeys and women in media. She played a pivotal role in establishing June as Black Music Month and has been recognized for her contributions by the Philadelphia City Council. Ms. Williams' career includes significant roles in major radio markets like New York, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia, as well as appearances on television programs and documentaries. As CEO of Influence Entertainment, she provides media coaching for high-profile clients. We're going to get into that. And she has produced notable live events featuring major talents. This beautiful lady right here is a founding board member of the National Museum of African American Music and has been involved in several cultural and music advocacy initiatives. Her work continues to enhance the appreciation and preservation of African American music and culture. And I'm gonna just leave it right here. Ebony Magazine dubbed her the mother of Black Music Month. I don't even know where to start. My first thing I'm going to say is, how did your love of music start?
The love that I have for music and the ongoing passion that increases exponentially with each passing second. Every time I hear a new artist or even an artist that I've been listening to for a while, I give the credit to my father, George Gabriel Williams. My daddy was a music lover, and the radio was on in our house all the time. So he was blasting the radio. So I have very early childhood recollections of just music permeating our house. We had like a huge townhouse. Music all the time. My daddy, we called him Papa George.
Oh, I love that. Now, where did he get that from? Because you're from Harlem, correct?
Yeah, I grew up in the Bronx and Harlem. Here we go. I was talking to Q-Tip yesterday, and I told him, because he was teasing me, and he was like, yeah, New York, my New York friend. I was like, no, you're Queens, to be specific, St. Albans, which is where he's from.
Okay.
And I was born in the Naval Hospital there, but raised as a small child in the Bronx and then as a teenager in Harlem. My daddy from Culpeper, Virginia. He was
Wow.
the Southern boy, but he was in the Navy, so he literally went all over the world. But Black music, all music, but Black music in particular, my daddy loved.
That is awesome. Now you're also Afro-Latina.
My mother's Puerto Rican.
How did that music come together, the different cultures? How did that blend?
I tell you, Nia, it came in because also my mother's mother
Mhm.
helped to raise me while my parents were working and my mother was going to school. She went to college. She went to Brooklyn College. Then she got her master's from NYU. So my mother was a busy person because she was a nurse. So she was doing night shifts, going to school. My grandmother was a revered homemaker.
Mm,
Okay, because we don't look at that as a profession, but
right.
boy, you can't pay the women that stay, maintain a house, raise children, and take care of a husband. That's that's a very formidable gig. I
Mhm.
made a little attempt at it years ago, the whole package. How did that work out for you, Dina? Anyhow, and my kids to this day, they're like, Mama, you were not the best cook.
Oh,
It's the truth, but they never went hungry.
yeah.
But my grandmother instilled a great love
Mhm.
of Puerto Rican culture because she was a full-blooded Puerto Rican woman. And so I ate tostones, rice and beans, a steady staple diet of Puerto Rican food, which is Latin food in any other countries, very similar. But my grandmother, Bienvenida
Mhm.
Vives, my grandparents, Juan and Bienvenida Vives. So I got the Puerto Rican part and the Latin flavor, which of course, as you know, Nia, and many of your listeners, it's African. It's all rooted in Africa. And my mother, a very proud Puerto Rican African woman. My first trip to Africa, I went with my mother. And when I say she disappeared and went to the marketplace, found a tailor, and she stayed garbed up the whole time that we were on the continent. So my mother overstands that
Mhm.
Puerto Ricans were transported, they just were dropped off in the Caribbean at Puerto Rico, and then mixed, of course, with Spain, Spanish, and Portuguese, and all of that reflects in the DNA that I've done. So yes, wonderful blend of cultures, but at the end of the day, it's Black.
Mhm.
Blackity black, black. But the other day I got a hit on my ancestry of one of my oldest ancestors. I'm identifying him as the slave master.
Wow.
On my daddy's side, on my father's mother's side is where the presence of the European blood comes.
Mm.
And I got a picture of him. I mean, it's like 17 something. Amazing. Because, as Black people, we can only go but so far. It's hard for us to go
Yes.
but so far. But with the presence of white people,
Mhm.
I'm a very avid viewer of Finding Your Roots with Dr. Henry Louis Gates. In fact, Henry Louis Gates did my initial admixture of everything on the radio, Henry Louis Gates, and what I was so blown away. But yeah, it's my daddy, my grandmother, Puerto Rican. I call myself an Afro Latina because that's what I am. I'm Afro.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And it's very important to always embrace what you are.
Exactly.
Do you think that in music today, do we embrace our culture like the music of the 60s and the 70s and the 80s? Is it do we embrace our culture like before?
Some people do consciously, and others consume it unknowingly.
Hmm.
And the reality is, if you think about the real musicians that are transferring the culture from the 60s and 70s that you reference, we have those people. I mentioned my friend Q-Tip, homage to real music. D'Angelo, another dear friend of mine, homage to the roots of the music. I'm excited because today the Sly Stone documentary produced by Amir Questlove Thompson comes out, and I'm a huge Sly Stone fan.
Who is it?
So, yeah, how about that? But some people don't know. But for the people who don't know, they can see it. Those bell bottoms that Kendrick Lamar wore in the Super Bowl halftime show, my generation, my young adult years were the 70s.
Yeah.
We wore bell bottoms. We had big fros. We wore dashikis. We wore symbols and identification that connected us to the continent. And so even here in America now, think about it, Nia, Thames had a really big record. It's an Afrobeat record last year, year before last. So even Afrobeat is now starting to infiltrate. I'm talking about commercial radio, videos, and of course, social media. So the presence of African culture permeates whether people recognize it or not.
Ooh.
Globally, oh, I take that back, intergalactically.
Ooh.
The sound waves they go out, and trust and believe, I do believe that we are not alone in this vast expanse of space. And knowing what I know about just myself, I mean, you don't have to have a baby to know about life and the appreciation of it. But after I had my children, when I got pregnant, and then saw the transformation of my body, and then a whole person came out of my vaginal canal,
Yeah.
and then the vaginal canal snapped back. Hey,
Yeah.
God is great. That's all I'm going to say. I do believe that there are entities that are listening to Black music, all forms of music, but I'm keyed into Black music. So
Amen.
out there. There was a planetary alignment recently. Did you know that? Yeah.
Oh.
It was on the 25th of January. The planets lined up. And when I read more about it, it said it looked like it lined up in a line, but it wasn't quite a line. January 25th, 2025. Look it up.
Wow.
And see, to me, celestial events, they have consequences here on this planet. We sometimes are just oblivious, but I'm not, because I know that the master architect is at work.
Mm. Mm.
Master architect.
There needs to be preacher in here too.
Reverend Williams. Watch out.
Watch out now.
Watch out. There's room for that, huh?
Always room for it. Now, how did you take your love for music and then decide to get on the radio?
I initially wanted to be a musician, a jazz flautist. I studied flute with the great Philadelphia jazz musician Jimmy Heath, who was also the father of my friend James M. Tume.
Wow.
But I was really bad. As a student, young girl, I enrolled in something called the Jazzmobile program in Harlem. IS 201 with Dr. Billy Taylor was the founder of the program, and it provided jazz lessons for young students or kids in the community. And I lived in West Harlem. So by the time I was maybe about 17, I wanted to take lessons. I was getting ready to go into college. I went in as a music major. I don't know how or why, because I couldn't solo. I couldn't improvise. You can't be a jazz musician and not improvise. And I tried to take lessons with Hubert Laws, who was a great musician, plays the flute, and he was teaching at the time. Well, I never got a flute lesson, but I got a lot of love lessons, if you get my flavor. But started as a music major, interested in playing the flute. And then one day, radio, I always had a connection to it. I was sitting in for a gentleman named Rob Crocker on the Pacifica Jazz Station, a show that he did, a jazz show. But in college, somebody invited me to the radio station, WCCR AM, a carrier current station. Mind you, I went to City College, which is on 138th Street and Condon Avenue in the heart of West Harlem. Turntables, the microphone, the cartridges, the records, everything, it felt like me. And Hubert, who was my boyfriend at the time, he was like, "You have a great voice. You should continue pursuing radio." And I did. And here we are. I got my first check check, and 1973. So this is 20, yeah. Yeah, so it's been over 52 years, almost, yeah, going into 52. And I love radio. I love the community of it. I love the communion of radio. And for me, it is about creativity and community and commerce because it was a job and a profession. So, but I love the connection that happens on radio.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you have a voice that's very
Radio.
consoling, personable, very relaxed. Radio, like you said, yes, you
Not
do.
all the time, Nia. I can assure you, not all the time. I'm a lunatic sometimes. You should hear when I'm cussing and screaming. I'll be looking at the TV at the news lately, a lot more of it, and I'm cussing, I'm loud. So don't let the smooth, don't let it fool you. I'm telling you, true. Yeah.
Oh, and then how did you transition from radio to being on TV? Is that an easy transition? Why did you do that? How did that come about?
So when I was doing the radio show at City College, I took over. I had my own radio show. I became the music director. I also took control of the student fund to be able to book shows to bring talent to our campus. And because I was then dating a musician, Hubert Laws, I got to meet a lot of the musicians and they would do me a favor and come. So it was the beginning of not just radio, but live event producing that I would continue to do to this second.
Mm.
But I got a call one day from a gentleman, and he used to listen to my jazz radio show on campus. He said, I'm with Teleprompter TV. I run the public access channel. Can you do in front of a camera what you do on your show? And I was like, so at the age of 17, I had my own TV show and it was called Ebony Moonbeams. And I interviewed dancers, musicians, sidemen, photographers, all manner of creative people. And I've stayed in that vein ever since. So radio, television, and my goal when I was 18, I wrote down my dreams, my goals, and they included getting a job in radio, a job, paid job,
Mhm.
working in television, falling in love, meeting a man, and starting a family. And I gave myself 5 years. Well, I'm here to report that 3 years after those goals were written, most of all of that had been accomplished. Literally 3, 4 years. I hit my goal before the 5 years. So I got a job at WHUR 96.3 in Washington, D.C., which is the home of the original Quiet Storm as founded by one of my dearest girlfriends, Kathy Hughes.
Yeah.
I met Kenny Gamble hosting an OJ's concert at the Carter Barron Amphitheater in DC in 1974. I was 19. My son Khalif asked me a few months ago, he said, Mama, how old were you when you met my father? I was like, well, I met your father when I was 19, but we didn't start officially dating until I was turning 21. So my child was doing the math. I was like, I'll math with you. But I met Kenny and I fell in love. And then I got a job doing entertainment reporting
Mm.
at the CBS TV affiliate in DC. I did a show called PM Magazine, and my beat was entertainment and cultural arts. So, oh, and I had Cleef, and I had my son. And that all happened within that 5 years that I gave myself. So television has always been part of my career footprint, always on camera and behind the scenes as a producer.
Yeah.
I've always done both. And I'm honored to be part of an NAACP Image Award show called Unsung
I
on network. I've been on that show since 2008.
Let me tell you, one of my favorites is Phyllis Hyman.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I've known about, my parents grew me up with listening to her music, but to see it on Unsung, Miss Williams, I said that did her justice.
Yeah, she was a lovely woman, complex, but very lovely and
Mm,
super talented. And nobody, no one has come close to her voice
no.
or her presentation. She was statuesque, she was quite lovely, and very complicated.
Mm. You know, it's funny. I One of my favorite songs is Old Friend, and I listen to it as if I've
Yeah.
experienced that or living all alone. And it's so, no matter, you could be in a great mood, but just listening to it just puts you in that mood. And I feel almost what she felt listening to. I mean, there was so much soul, so much truth in
Yeah.
her music.
Yeah. And kudos, as you mentioned, those songs to my ex, to Kenny Gamble and his partner Leon Huff, and the folks at Philadelphia International Records for producing and creating. But Gamble really he locked in because he was principally the lyricist. So those words that I can't stand all this living all, a lot of those words came from Gamble sitting down with Phyllis talking
Mm.
about life. And so he used to tailor the songs to the artist's voice, to their life, to his own life, to his partner's lives. Yeah.
Wow, wow. Do you have any particular favorite unsung episodes that you've
Sure, I
produced?
do. The one that I executive produced, and we won the NAACP Image Award that season, the Teddy Pendergrass episode.
Woo!
Teddy was my best male friend until his transition. He was my neighbor, borrow cup of sugar neighbor. He lived right around the corner from me. He and his wife, Joan Pendergrass, who I emailed this morning. Teddy, the
Mm,
Teddy episode, because it was part of my healing. He was in intensive care the last 9 months of his life
mm.
at Bryn Mawr Hospital, and I would go see him religiously every
Really?
weekend. And one weekend I went to California, or one week, but as soon as I landed, I went right to the hospital, and I frequently, um, you know, just Teddy. So the Teddy episode, and beyond that, another one. There were two others because
Mhm.
they're close friends. Jean Carn.
Mm.
I had been on the key decision makers for years saying, we got to do Gene, we got to do Gene. And finally, after maybe 10 years, we got to do Gene. And I was part of that. So that was rewarding. And the other one is Will Downing. Will is one of my very dear male friends.
Mm.
And he went through a very debilitating illness some years ago where he couldn't walk, he had no muscle strength. I mean, he was in bad shape. And he called me one day and he said, they asked me to submit a list of people that I wanted to have interviewed for my Unsung.
Mm.
Your name is on the list. I'm like, no kidding. Okay, I have had the honor of working with him. He featured me on one of his records that I named. I named the album. I've named maybe three or four of Will Downing's albums. A little known fact, Nia, but he'll tell it. But I named his latest album. It's called Luscious. He'll send me the music. I'll listen, and I'll send him back my remarks. So when I wrote him about his latest album, I was like, "Ooh, this is luscious," and he said. You've done it again. There's the title of my album. But I was on a record with him called Lust, Love, and Lies, the audio novel. And I played his girlfriend. And his real life wife, her name is Audrey Wheeler Downing, played the other woman. I just thought that was hilarious. She played the other woman that would come along and take him from me. Chocolate, Will Downing. So yeah, those are my favorite unsungs,
Mm, that
almost in
is.
the order. Yeah. And the Phyllis Hyman, I love that one too. And Minnie Riperton. I'm
Oh,
That was first season. I love Minnie Riperton. And she and I were born the same day. We were both Scorpio. We are. Well, she's deceased. Scorpio. Yeah, November 8th.
I mean, there's some people who are timeless.
Mhm. Yeah,
She's one of them, and everybody else that you name. But I mean,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So, the blessings that I've had, Nia, from working on the radio, interviewing countless people. I mean, everybody from Aretha Franklin to PNB Rock, who you name it. And then coaching, the artists that I work with, coaching. I've been able to develop strong relationships with some of my clients and or artists.
Mhm.
For instance, Jean Carn is godmother to my oldest child, Khalif. She was in delivery with me for all three children. She would arrange her touring schedule around my due date and
Oh
come
my
stay
gosh.
with us to be with me. She had three children, and she was my, not quite doula, but she was holding my hand and there with me, advising. And I mentioned Teddy. He was part of the Philadelphia International roster and family. But to my children, Uncle Teddy.
Mhm.
And Will Downing, Will and I have been riding on this journey together as friends for a long time. We have a lot of commonalities. He's from New York, he's from Brooklyn, me from Harlem. So, yeah, it's been great.
You are phenomenal. And when I was looking at this, one of the people
Mhm.
that you have worked with that I absolutely love is Rihanna.
Oh, yeah. I worked with Miss Rihanna. It was an Easter weekend. It was her first record. Her first debut album was about to come out. So I had a brief window, but I did work with her, giving her some information about how to best navigate media. She has her own way, and she's done quite fine without me or too many other people. She's a super talent.
Yeah, yeah, but it's also because you poured into her as well. Give yourself kudos too. Get your
Yeah.
flowers.
And shout out to Jana Fleischman, who has been her longtime publicist and helped her tremendously, but brought me in to work with her.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was exciting. And Justin Bieber, I worked with him on his first album. Some artist, my longest running client was T.I. I worked with him for 8 years while he was signed to Atlantic Records. He he was my most consistent long client, but my longest has been my beloved Brandy. Brandy, I've worked with over 20 years and not consistently. We worked together, then I got called again, then I got called again. She was releasing a TV show. We get on Zoom. And you know what's interesting? I work with a British group called Flow. They're super talented sisters from England. And I was doing a Zoom coaching session, which is how I work with a lot of my clients these days. And Brandy hits me up. She texts me and I said, girl, I'm in a coaching session with Flo. She said, oh my God, my daughter loves Flo. So do I. She said, send me the link. I sent her the link. Now they cite Brandy as their number one. I sent Brandy the link and I'm doing this on my phone while I'm talking to the ladies. And then I said, ladies, take a deep breath, get ready. Brandy's about to join our Zoom. And she sure did. And the girls, they lost their minds. They were screaming. They were like, oh my God, oh my God. Like meeting your idol, meeting the person that you model yourself after or that you're inspired by. So yeah, I have a very robust coaching artist development part of our business. And I've had the honor over 30 years of working with artists in all genres, all genres. The New York Times was doing a feature story on me, and the journalist, Joe Coscarelli, kept asking questions about my hip hop artist
Mm.
or then. And I said, Joe, I've worked with Pete Wentz, I've worked with the Zach Brown Band, I've worked with artists in every genre. Your questions are now just very focused on my hip hop clientele. What's up? He said, well, my editor wants me to focus there because hip hop is the number one selling genre in the world right now. And you are working with a lot of hip hop artists. You've worked with them and you're still working with them. So we do want to focus in on that. So they dubbed me the hip hop whisperer. I was so annoyed at first. And then I was like, go with it. I am.
I
Nia.
think that's amazing.
Well, yeah, but I'm a whisperer to other artists and individuals because my clientele are not just artists, they are athletes, executives, actors, directors.
Why is it so important for your clientele to be so diverse? Why is that important to you?
Well, it's important to me because I'm not a one-trick pony. I'm not monolithic. At one point, my early business was primarily Black artist. But I started then getting such great results with my clients that the white women who were heads of publicities at the different labels started passing my name around.
I know that's right.
And I give credit to two women. One is Sheila Richmond. She was the head of publicity at Atlantic Records up until just recently. And Sheila started referring me to her girlfriends, saying, Dyana. And then I wound up doing the Dave Matthews Band. I did the majority of the band with the exception of Dave. They were doing a story for CBS Mornings, I think,
Mhm.
and one of their members had died, and they brought me in because the members had not really talked to each other or talked about the death of a bandmate. So yeah, once I started getting the referrals from those women,
Mhm.
my business crossed over, and then I started working with white artists as well, pop artists, and but all artists. And so it wasn't my goal to cross over, but coaching and the information that I was teaching is applicable to anyone, regardless to genre.
Mhm.
So it did help grow my business, and I'm forever grateful to those women. Yeah,
You are powerful.
I am blessed. Yes.
So powerful that when I listed, you've received many of accolades and awards from the Philadelphia City Council, but you dubbed June Black Music Month. Why is that important? Why did you do it and how?
June Black Music Month is a focused, concentrated period of time for us to celebrate not just the musicians, the artists, the producers, the engineers, the makeup artists, the stylists, the educators, and anybody, the record execs, the all important consumer. It's
Mhm.
an opportunity for us to say, I love Phyllis Hyman. I love this one. I love that one. This music is the soundtrack to my ups and downs, to my heartbreak and my heart love. Music for every occasion. And so Kenny Gamble, my ex and my dear friend, it was his idea. We happened to be a couple at the time. So I worked to support the efforts of my man and also a gentleman, a broadcaster by the name of Ed Wright. He has passed on, but he was the head of the National Association of Television and Radio Artists. We credit him as well as a co-founder. But it was President Jimmy Carter who made his transition a few months ago,
Mhm.
who was the first American president at the encouragement of the Black Music Association, founded by Kenny Gamble, to declare June Black Music Month. And he hosted an event June 7th, 1979, on the South Lawn of the White House. Performances by Chuck Berry, Sarah Jordan Powell, Evelyn Champagne King, Dexter Wenzel. Dexter Wenzel was the music director, and MFSB was the orchestra that provided music for those live performances. And over 200 people, music industry professionals, were invited to the White House. And this is 79. So when Clinton was in office, I wrote and asked, could he host a similar reception? And his people came back and said, we see in the archives where President Carter hosted this event, but he failed to sign a presidential proclamation. So get us some legislation, come back to us,
Right.
and President Clinton will meet with you in the Oval Office and he will sign a presidential proclamation. And every American president, once you get the legislation, will sign similar legislation saying, call out to all American people, let us celebrate our indigenous
Mhm.
genres and a multi-billion-dollar industry, Nia. See how you made that face? It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
Wow.
We export this music all over the world. We don't get necessarily the ownership, the control, the benefits of the music and the art that we create.
Mhm.
So I'm an advocate. I'm a passionate advocate for
Yes.
people getting their props and not just hey, congratulations, getting their checks as well. That's equally as important. So I got the legislation. I got Shaka Fattah, Congressman Shaka Fattah, as my supporter. He actually introduced the legislation. I wrote a draft. They put whereas in. And also I had Senator Arlen Specter, who was a Republican at that time. He's deceased, but he wrote a letter to the president as well on my behalf, as did Shaka Fattah. And I will forever be grateful to Shaka for his contributions to that process. And so when Barack Obama came in office, he changed the name to African American Music Appreciation Month. Oh, I think that's the first time I was able to say it that way.
Woohoo.
And I was pretty perturbed. And I spent 8 years lobbying to have it changed back to what Kenny Gamble, Ed Wright, and the music business calls it, Music Month. And thank you, President Biden. When he did the Juneteenth declaration, I was invited to the White House. I had a row of my friends and associates sitting with me, and President Biden said, it is Black Music Month, Juneteenth in Black Music Month. I almost fell off my chair. But I was sent a proclamation with Black Music Month, and I'm not sure, Nia, if that's going to still happen, though. We're going to celebrate it, but I don't know if I'm going to get a proclamation from the White House. But it's okay because we know.
Yeah.
And every day, as far as I'm concerned, is an opportunity for us to elevate and celebrate what we created. Rock and roll, Little Richard, Bo Diddley, they're the founders. Fats Domino.
Is that the truth?
Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Those are the founders. They're the founding mothers and fathers of rock. Yes, 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 yes. Even country music. Black people created country music. It got appropriated like so many other things.
Are you?
Country music is a blend of blues and gospel.
Huh.
So I will say that white people's interpretation of country is a little different when you listen to Black folks and how they did it. Like Ray Charles got a Grammy for a country album. The Pointer Sisters were Grammy winners for country. Yes, ma'am. Beyonce is not the first, but she is so richly deserving I voted for her. I'm a voting member of the Grammy organization. I'm a past president of the Philly chapter, but I voted, everybody I voted for won.
I know that's right.
Doechii, she won. Yeah. Kendrick Lamar won big. Yeah. And Beyonce deservedly won for Best Album of the Year. And she was in a competition with some major people, but the slighting of her album, Cowboy Carter, by the Country Music Association was horrible. And the Recording Academy obviously were self-correct. They were like, she deserves it. And really, I think her award was not just for that album, because Album of the Year has eluded her. And it's the one thing she truly wanted. Her husband spoke out about it last year. And this year, I think the voters were more sensitive to the fact that she's been overlooked for that level of honor, and she deserved it. So anyway.
You bring so much history, so much perspective, so much love to our culture in every facet that you're in. It's the way that you speak about everything. You can't help but love it.
Yeah, I love our culture. And I love the contribution of our culture to the broader culture, because we're a small part of the population, but we're a big part of the population, not just in the United States, but globally, as I mentioned earlier. First time I went to Japan, I went with Philip Bailey, the lead singer of Earth, Wind and Fire. I was producing a USO tour, and I took 50 people to 5 military installations and Guam. And when we landed, I wanted to say, was it Osaka where we landed? But those people were not speaking English. Everything was in Japanese. Nobody had yens. I always change money before I go to a country. And I had to feed everybody because I had a couple $100. But those people, when I say those people, the Japanese people, love Black music, they may not be able to speak English, but they can recite the lyrics
Mhm.
of, of a lot of our music. And think about it, our culture is not just our music, it's our dance, it's our photography,
Mhm.
it's our literature. And how about our fashion?
Yeah.
You see it in Brazil, you see it in Australia, you see it in New Zealand, you see it everywhere. Various cultures' interpretations of how Black Americans, young Black men and women, and grown Black men and women, how we dress, our language, the lexicon, there's a specific lexicon, as you well know. I mean, remember when Michael Jackson came out and they were like, ooh, bad. No, bad meaning good.
Right.
Because in our community, when we say, ooh, girl, that's bad, we don't mean as bad negative. We mean as bad positive, and it's context, obviously. But we take words and we repurpose and we reimagine. It's part of our contribution to the culture. There's something about melanin, to me, that makes all the difference. And the absence of melanin, I think causes people to count off beat, and when they're dancing, maybe just off. It's not on the one. But meanwhile, the desire for our hips,
Yeah.
our buttocks, our breast,
Yeah.
and not everybody, but these are generalizations I'm making, but also the suntan lotion business is a big business. And Black people use it too. I put my sunscreen out when I go out. I don't want to burn and I don't want cancer.
Yeah.
But the reality is that we can sustain better in a tropical environment in the sun without it because we have the protection of melanin. There's something in the melanin.
Mhm.
We've been gifted
Yeah.
with something in the melanin. And I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. It's just,
You make me proud to be
oh,
a Black person.
a beautiful Black person. Our first meeting, I remember when we first met, we met at the African American Museum, Kwanzaa outdoor, well, it was an indoor at that point.
Mhm.
And your books, you're a publisher and you're an author of children's books principally, and you have your publishing company. And I was so impressed. I was shopping, one of my favorite pastimes. Oh, not so much in the past, in the present. I was buying something this morning online. But I was struck by your energy. That was the first place we connected. And then, of course, I bought your books to give to my grandson. I have a 10-year-old. And our children need to see and also tackle the subject matter that you're dealing with in your books. But, for me, I love to lift and celebrate entrepreneurs, thinkers, doers who are making a difference in the culture. And sometimes you may not feel it, but you are. Even with your podcast, you are conveying information, and knowledge is power, as you well know, being a recipient of information. So I want to just celebrate you. I want to thank you for your patience because we've been trying to get to this for some time. But I overextend myself. It's one of my flaws. I'm learning how to use that little tiny word better. I
In
used
a sentence.
used it with you today because there's something coming on television, and you were like, "Oh, we can reschedule." I said, "No,
Yeah.
we are. We are doing the reschedule
Yeah.
today."
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. My last question to you is,
Yes,
out of all of the hats you wear, you are just so impactful, phenomenal. But who do you say you are?
I am a boss. I
Mhm.
am a thinker and a doer. I am a visionary. I am passionate. I'm pretty fearless. I am a joie de vivre student.
Mm.
And I'm a lover of creation by Almighty God. I'm I'm perfectly flawed. I'm that too. I'm a mother. I have my challenges. I'm a good, pretty loyal friend. I have a few cases where I've messed up, but for the most part, I think my friend group would say I'm the social worker. Sometimes I'm the bank. I'm many things, but those are the primary things that I am. And professionally, I am a live event producer, a broadcaster, a print journalist, a media coach who does artist development with high profile individuals. And above all else, I am a proud Afro Latina woman who loves being who I am. And I am evolving. I'm in the fourth quarter, I'm in my 70s, and I'm evolving even at this point. In my 70s, I'm still getting my bearings on some things. I would say I'm an evolving woman, looking forward to being a full-time woman.
Ooh, you have heard it from the GOAT, Miss Dyana Williams. Thank you so much for what you always do and have always done for our community. Because of you, we are. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining us, and thank you for doing what you're doing.
May I ask, there are two things I want to encourage people. I'm on the board, as you mentioned, of the National Museum of African American Music, Fifth and Broadway in downtown Nashville. And people are like, Nashville, why? I even said it when I first got the invitation to be involved. And Nashville, Music City, the Fifth Jubilee Singers, the first international ambassadors of Black music abroad and all over the planet. But I would encourage people to go visit the museum and consider taking out a membership and supporting this viable institution. NAMAM, it's NMAAM.org. Please visit online if you can't get to it in person. And if you can make a donation of membership, kindly do that as well. And finally, I am a producer with the Wawa Welcome America Festival that takes place here in Philadelphia in June. We kick off Juneteenth, and I'm stepping into a bigger role. Last year, for the last 3 years, I've produced 2 concerts. Now I am going to be booking the entire festival, all the talent for the 16 days, working with Michael Delbane and Nicole Allen. So I'm very excited about this. Imagine, here I am in my 70s doing something on a higher, bigger scale, but it's all good because I have the capacity. I have a wonderful team of people, Val Warren, Deja Ali, and Darcel, Grant, Youssef, Jalil. I have a great team of people that work together to do this. So look for this festival. It is free. It's in Philadelphia starting Juneteenth in Philly, and people can go look for the Wawa Welcome America Festival. Families, we have something called Kidchella, a festival for the kids.
Amazing.
My favorite activity last year, other than the concerts that I produced. So, and people can visit our website, which is influenceentertainment.com. And I am on all social medias, Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter. I don't do TikTok, but I'm there as Dyana, Dyana Williams. Thank you, Nia, for this opportunity. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you. God bless you.
And you as well.
Thank you for joining us on the Humanitarian Heartbeat Podcast. Remember, each conversation brings us closer to a world where compassion thrives. Stay connected, stay informed, and let's keep the heartbeat of humanity alive. Subscribe, share, and be a part of our journey to make a difference, one conversation at a time. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your minds curious, be a blessing to others, and give agape love. God bless.